Hello, Emily from Roboflow here, and today I will be introducing workflows, the best way to run your computer vision models, to visualize your model results, and to combine complex logic to fit your deployment needs. Without further ado, let's get started. Today I will be building a workflow that detects vehicles in an image, then identifies the license plates for each vehicle, and then finally reads the license plate text, first using an OpenAI model, and then finally by training my own custom object detection model. To get started, I will add an object detection model block that I will use a YOLO V8 model trained on Coco, which is a set of 80 common classes, such as people and vehicles. To test this model output, I can go ahead and drop in an image. Here, I have an image prepared that takes a look at a self-driving car with some vehicles in the background. And I can go ahead and run this block and see the model results. This text is a little hard to see what's happening, so I will go ahead and add a bounding box visualization and a label visualization block, which will help me test. Rather than testing the blocks individually, I'll actually go ahead and run them all together to get the total results. So you can see here, I have both the model results along with the annotated image. Here, it's actually doing 2 predictions per object, which I don't want. So I'll go ahead and update my model block to have class agnostic NMS, which actually checks at the overlap between boxes and makes sure that there is only one in each area. Running the workflow now, you can see here that it actually reduces the double boxes, but it is no longer finding this car in the background because of the overlap threshold. To fix this, I can go back to my model block and play around with the values. 2 important ones to note. One is the confidence threshold. I'm happy with my 40%, but you may need to increase it if you're getting false positives, or decrease it if you're missing predictions. What I'm interested here is the overlap threshold. The lower the threshold, the less results you get. So right now, if there's more than 30% overlap between 2 bounding boxes, the results won't be returned. I'll actually increase it to 90%. So now, even if there's 90% overlap, the model will return both. So as you can see here, now it's actually picking up the truck in the background. So I have a simple workflow that runs my model and visualizes it. Let's add a bit more complex logic. Now I will actually crop the model results for each vehicle and run a second model block. Here I will run it on a model I've actually found on Roboflow Universe. And so Roboflow Universe is a public repository of models other users have trained. Here I can see there is a license plate recognition model flagged. You can also search for any model that can fit your needs. It's going to take a second to load, and then I can navigate to the model tab and copy this model ID here for use in my workflow. I can paste it in here and use my model block. Now if I'll test this workflow, you can see here that it will actually run my predictions. It will crop to all the vehicles and finds the license plates within them. You can kind of see here, these are the different visual results. Now that I have the vehicles and the license plates, let's actually crop down to the license plate themselves. And for my first pass, I'm going to run an OpenAI model. For the prompt, I'm going to read the license plate text. And here I'll paste my OpenAI key. Now finally, let me test this complete workflow. You can also turn on debug mode to return the output of every single block. By default, it will return the output of everything inside this output section. Looking at the section, I've configured it to return the model predictions, the label visualization. If I delete separate values, it actually won't be returned in the results. But going back to the text workflow, now I can kind of see here, it's returning every result linked to what it is connected to. Scrolling at the very end, I can see that I am interested in the OpenAI output, which is the license plate text. So in the first image, which I can see, I can't even read a license plate number. It returned null. But for the actual value, it was able to read it correctly. Sweet. Let's say I actually don't want to call an API. I want to run my own model. I can train a fine-tuned model. By default, I was choosing models on Roboflow Universe. Here, I can train my own model to perform my specific task. So as you can see here, I went through and created a data set of different license plates. Here I labeled all the numbers that I found and the values of the license plate. And finally, I can go ahead and train a custom model to perform my task. For this demo's sake, let's say I already have a model. I actually have it in a different workspace, so I'll copy the ID here as well. This is my OCR license plate ID, and I will use it here. And now I can test this result. And now this model ID is actually running, and each class will be a digit that it detected. So let's say it finds 3, it finds the X. We have a handy dandy block. Feel free, we have over 80 blocks to explore them all, but this one is called Stitch OCR Detections, which actually gets the different text directions that were found and combines them together. So here I'll read them from left to right. And finally, running this workflow, I can see here, this is the characters it found. The order isn't correct. To actually solve your use case, you can play around for the tolerance. This is what is used to determine if it should be on 2 separate lines by pixels. So 10 pixels is too small, I'll bump it up to 50 pixels, and now it actually should combine the 2 lines into one, since my license plate is a little slanted. Now you can see here, it was able to read it correctly, 78907X3. One final thing you can note is we have a few other kind of common functions in this property definition block. Here I will use the OCR text and convert it to uppercase. Let me rename the block so I actually know what's happening here. And now when I go ahead and test my workflow, I can turn off debug mode since I don't want to see the output of every block. And finally, if I can scroll to the very bottom, you can see here that this license plate text was capitalized, which is the final result I'm looking for. To recap what we've built, we have a workflow that runs an object detection model to detect vehicles in an image. It labels, draws a bounding box and a label for every vehicle found, but then it also crops to the cars, finds the license plate, crops to the license plate, and reads the license plate text using 2 different methods. One, by making an API call to OpenAI, and 2, by actually running a custom model that I trained to find and read every single character in my license plate text, and stitching it back together left to right using some of the more advanced workflow blocks. Thank you so much for watching my video, and happy building!